YouTube channel. Okay, let's start. Hi everyone, my name is Evgeny Shvarov. I am the developer ecosystem manager of InterSystems Corporation, and here our kickoff webinar for the programming contest we will be having in the next 3 weeks, which is related to InterSystems FHIR as a Service product, a very new product that you will be introduced. You will have a chance to work with. And today we have Patrick Jamieson, our product manager of InterSystems and product manager of IRIS for Health. Also, we have service executive and product owner of FHIR as a Service, Regilo, Souza, and Anton Umnikov, who is a senior cloud architect. Colleagues, you have very beautiful titles. Correct me if I was wrong. And yeah, and the agenda today is so we will present you the product itself. Then there will be deeper insights about the product, how to use it, some demos, and actually all the terms and requirements of the contest, how you can use it and build applications with InterSystems FHIR as a Service in the next 3 weeks and win wonderful prizes of InterSystems developer ecosystem. Okay, let's go. So Patrick, I pass you mic. So could you please?
Yes.
Start?
Thanks. Thank you very much, Evgeny. And I'll get started here. Let me share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to fire this up here. And can everybody see my screen? Or Evgeny, could you see my screen? Good.
Yeah, so I see it perfectly. And Patrick, before I start, let me just introduce how we communicate today. So everyone, so please feel free to ask questions in the chat. And actually, after every part, there will be like a small Q&A session. So we want this more like a discussion and conversation. So our intention is to introduce your product and to let you ask any questions about that and have a clear understanding how to participate in the contest and so on. So, okay, let's go.
All right, Evgeny. Well, I'm very delighted to be here and talk about something that is really, I think, very exciting, is going to make your lives a lot easier. And for people who are new to FHIR, I think this is going to be a great jumping off platform for you to get started with the latest standards in healthcare interoperability. My name's Patrick Jamieson. I'm the product manager for IRIS for Health, but I'm really in some ways just the warm-up act here. Regilo and Anton are going to be giving you a great demo of the service, but I just kind of wanted to set some context so that you could really appreciate what it is that is going to, I think, make it easier for you to do FHIR development. And so naturally, I think probably some of you are wondering, well, why are we even talking about FHIR? What is this FHIR app revolution going on in healthcare? Why should I care about it? What are some of the major use cases for FHIR? And then assuming that this is really all that it is, why should I use the IRIS FHIR Accelerator service versus IRIS for Health? What is attractive about that? And then naturally, I'm sure you're going to want to see a demo of this, and we're going to allow plenty of time for questions and answers. So I think many of you are probably familiar that healthcare has really become a principal focus around the world for essentially new IT development. I think healthcare systems around the world feel that we could get better value out of the healthcare systems we have, and that information technology is one of the keys to it. So here's some big top level goals that I am seeing in different geographies around the world. People would like to get better transparency into the cost and the outcomes of the care they're currently getting. They would like their patients, subscribers, or whoever else is touching the healthcare system to have more convenient access to medical records. And this even includes physicians, believe it or not. They have access, obviously, through their electronic medical record, but how about apps that don't live in the healthcare system, like on Apple Watch, for example? And then there's just this general belief that we're living in an app economy. So if you go to the Apple Health Store, you could just basically download a new innovative app anytime you want. Wouldn't that be nice in healthcare? And you know what? With FHIR, that will be the case. And we're at the early stages of this. FHIR really is the glue to making all these goals possible because it's a new standard that improves interoperability. So why is FHIR being used? Well, basically, or how is it being used in terms of priority? There's a lot of use cases here. Citius Tech did a readiness survey and found that many people are wanting to build FHIR applications to enhance consumer engagement. They want to have better communications between payers and providers. They want to fill in gaps in care where people are not getting maybe the optimum treatment because essentially they don't have that close connection with their provider. They're using it for regulatory compliance, provider engagement, and basically trying to build new types of applications that really are in demand in the marketplace. So here is a good example. This was an ad just the other week from HL7. And they said, do you know that top healthcare professionals are using FHIR to improve and advance modern healthcare? Now here's a company. It's a small startup company, Remedy, that partnered with Emory to develop some FHIR-related apps to track surgical procedure data and collect outcomes measures from patients. So they could collect data for people that are going home that have had surgery. And so one of the things that EMRs traditionally have not done very well is that they record a lot of information within the hospital's four walls, but when it comes to bridging that communication gap between patients and clinicians outside the hospital, there's typically a lack of communication, a lack of understanding. FHIR is a great way for basically bridging that gap, bridging that provider gap. So we did recently a survey in conjunction with AWS, who is launching a health lake in several months, to see what are the people using FHIR for. And really, it's all kinds of applications, from Smart on FHIR, which we'll talk a little bit about later, to things like drug utilization, chronic disease management, collecting COVID statistics, and then doing things as simple as tracking appointment no-shows, or at least trying to predict them, getting access to patient satisfaction surveys. Think how novel that is. You've been in the hospital, but no one has actually even reached out to do a survey. How can you build that into an application that can make that data accessible to your providers? CMS compliance. This has a lot to do with the fact that today, the Office for the National Coordinator in the United States has mandated that your healthcare data, your data in the EMR must be accessible through a FHIR API. So having FHIR as a way in which to communicate is not just simply a nice to have, it's a must to have. And so a lot of people, though, they're just exploring it. They may not have a clear use case, but they definitely are interested in FHIR. Now, our platform, as you know, has a lot of choices for using FHIR. You could use this on premises right now. You could get IRIS for Health. If you do that, you manage the applications, the data, the servers, and all the equipment for running your FHIR server. But it's a great platform to do that. However, you could, if you wanted to, take your license with IRIS for Health and you could run that same code today on any of the cloud, with any of the cloud providers. You would still be in charge of all the management of the application data and runtime, backups, etc. But you could do that today if you wanted to. Now, this new service that I'm announcing here really makes it simple for you because essentially you don't have to do all that work of managing all this runtime infrastructure. We take care of all of that. So what this allows you to do is just focus on managing your applications and data. This is really, I think, where developers want to go, where they don't want to have to do a lot of the setup. They're just interested in making that next great application. So what do we provide exactly? Well, we're going to demo this in detail so that you're going to see. But our system in a nutshell provides all that infrastructure. So we're talking about the high availability, the operating system, servers, network, runtime, and FHIR storage. We're providing all of that for you so that you don't need to worry about any of that. We take care of the management, so backups, disaster recovery. That is all included with the service. And we offer a development portal. This is going to make it really easy for you to test and develop your FHIR application. You will get out of the box monitoring so you can see performance, utilization, and cost. And of course, it's all secured so that you're HIPAA compliant, at least from the infrastructure side of things. Now, right now, this is running just in North America. We don't have a release date for Europe or the Asia Pacific region at this time. But our plans, of course, are to make this available worldwide. And best of all, during the contest phase, during this preview phase, your cost will be essentially zero. So you could sign up, you could load data into the system and build those great apps, and that is all going to be free at this point. So what does this look like in terms of a deployed configuration? Well, we basically have a lot of infrastructure here, none of which, by the way, you will need to manage yourself. So we offer this full encryption at rest and transit. We're going to make it highly available across 2 availability zones. We manage the backups and restores. We have that full logging, monitoring, and audit. We allow for OAuth 2-based authentication. That's a really important thing when you're dealing with personal health information. And you could use our built-in provider, identity provider, or you could bring your own. We also offer basically security in terms of VPC connections to your customer account, full tenant isolation, and a bunch of other features, including monitoring for things like denial of service attacks. And this is all controlled very easily through an API browser development portal. Like I said, one of the things that I think you're going to find very interesting and attractive is that we offer a development portal. So for many of you, this might be your first experience with building a FHIR application, but we offer ways in which you could explore that API through the open API specification. We make it easy for you then to test things like FHIR queries against all of these resources, this rich set of resources that FHIR offers. There is a lot to this. Of course, you could turn to the HL7 website to learn a lot more about FHIR, but there'll be plenty of examples in this development portal. Now, I'm going to just make a note here that we're going to offer plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. Obviously, I'm willing to take questions now, but before we do that, I really think it would be useful for you to see a demo of the service, because I feel it would probably make things a lot clearer in terms of how it's used and what you can specifically do in terms of specific features and functions. So at this point, I think it would be good for me to end off and turn it over to Regilo, who would give you a much better, crisper understanding of the service. So take it away, Regilo.
Thank you, Pat. So I was volunteered to get the fun part of the presentation, showing the demo, the live demo. So as you know, all live demos are very interesting. But let me share my screen here with you and go through the process. How you're going to get into the product, how you're going to use the product, and interrupt me anytime you want. There is no problem. You unmute yourself, ask questions, see what can be, well, if I'm not being very clear, what I can clarify to you. I already have my user here on the trial, so I don't need to create a new one, but you are going to be probably having to fill it up. This extensive form here that has just your name and username with a password. So very easy. So you're going to log in and you're going to get the landing page that is also very simple. Of course, in your case, it's not going to have administration, but you're going to have a plus sign here that is to create a new deployment. So create a new deployment, it's very simple. Well, let me just show how your screen is going to be showed so you don't have any challenge with that. Sorry. Portal. I'm going to, no. I'm not sure if that it's been used for the other things. But anyway, so you're going to have a FHIR Accelerator. You're going to have a preview. That's the only options that you are going to have today. Giving some extra information here to you, but not a big deal. You are going to see that there is an AWS icon. The only region available today for the preview and for the contest is the US East 2. So you're going to continue there and you're going to create a new deployment. So I'm going to write here, that's a contest deployment. Only you are going to have access to that. So you can name the way that you want and then create. With that, you're going to have the entire infrastructure being built. It takes about 5 to 6 minutes for deploying, making high availability, creating tasks for backing up and to restore everything that you're going to see in a little bit. So once that is done, I'm going to jump into the one that is already ready. So you don't need to be waiting that much. You're going to see this entrance, this landing page here, giving you the summary of what's your environment. Again, very simple. You have a lot of information there, but let's say that you want to see what data that you have. We are providing a small amount of patient data, 26 bundles to be more specific. I have 2 extra here because I uploaded, and about 15,000 resources for FHIR. Very simple. If you want to add more data, you just need to click here, and then you go to your bundles. So I have a lot of folders here, but I have a few of them that I want to add. And let's say I'm going to add this all here. You click open. You have the bundles that you're going to upload. You can remove a few of them if you don't want. So let's remove these ones here. And I'm going, all the Catalan I'm going to remove. And I upload. You have 2 bundles to be uploaded. Now to available to import. I can click import. And that is going to be showing that is going to decrease. And soon you're going to have more resources available here. So it's very easy to add the synthetic data. One of the important thing that you need to know is that we don't want any real data here. It's everything has to be using Syntheia or another software that you feel, or you can create your own. There is no problem with that. If you want to clear bundles that's from import, you can click here, or if you want to delete your entire data, you have it here. So I'm going to that running there. Sorry, Evgeny, you're just in front of the X button. So you don't need to be worried about anything else. And if you want to just use the data that we are providing, you can use that as well. Let's say that you are concerned that you're going to upload a lot of data, you're going to mess it up in your environment, you want to make sure that you have a backup first. So you can create a backup that's going to create a task there. Takes a lot of, about 10 minutes to create a backup. And if you want to restore from your backup, just click here. You're going to restore. Takes about 10 minutes as well. In the environment that you are going to be playing. Other environments can take a little bit less time than that. If you don't want to have that backup, delete, simple, very easy to do. So all the management part, it's very clear to do that. But let's say that you want to, before you start doing any work, you want to see how everything is going to be playing. I want to see the data. So I want to create an API key just for testing. And I'm going to create here. Actually, I'm going to, in honor of a friend that is in the audience, so I'm going to add his name here, copy the API key, and go to the API development, which is going to give you all the resources that Pat was saying. Actually, 137 resources that we have mapped. So you can go all over here, what are the resources that you want, and play with the data that it has available. So I'm going to be simple. I'm going to authorize here that API key that I just created. And I'm going to get all the patient data that I have there. So I'm going to execute. So Regilo not lying to me. I have here 200. I got all the 26 patients with 15,000 resources there. So good. But that is not going to give me much. So I want to create something a little bit cooler. I want to create an OAuth environment. Let me see if the other. Yeah. So here, no, there's not this one. Let me see deployments. It's not ready yet. So let me before I delete anything here, I want to ask Anton to share his app that he created using API key. So Anton, can you share your screen and we can go over?
Yep, absolutely. So actually I just showed you the basics of how you can create your deployment and how you can interact with a server using API browser. Let's take it one step forward and create the application that talks to that, that browser. The beauty of FHIR is it's a standard, right? And there are plenty of libraries out there that would help you to create applications quickly and easily using that, that standard. So what I'm showing you right now is a GitHub of the very simple application that would give you the list of patients, pretty much the same what Regilo just did using development portal, but within your own application, right? If you look at the instructions, all you need to do is to clone the repository and run 3 commands here, and data would be there. Don't forget just to change the endpoint and the API key. So let me do just that. Yeah, Evgeny just posted in the chat the reference to the GitHub repo. Right, so I'm cloning the application. All right, let me switch to the folder. I can run Visual Studio Code. I don't know what take it so long. Let me try again. That's better. Now, all I need to do now is go to my main JavaScript module and replace the template with the endpoint that FHIR Accelerator provided to me. Thanks, Regilo, for that. Here's one. And I hope my key still works.
That's why I didn't want to delete anything. I don't know. I don't remember which one did I provide you.
Okay, so let's save that. And a couple of more steps. We need to install the dependencies. The dependencies I'm looking for is FHIR.js. It's, again, open source library that lets you to interact with any FHIR server out there using either simplified way of dealing with authentication like API key or more advanced using OAuth 2. And I think you'll see the demo of that in just a few minutes. But let me start with install FHIR.js library, and the same with install Webpack. Here we go. It's all documented right in the README of the repo, so there's nothing for you to guess. And the last step is to package the app using a Webpack. Yes. So, and that's it. If I'll switch to my folder right now and open index.html, I would get access to all the patients that Regilo has in his environment right now. Right, I can look the content of the patient. Right now it's just JSON, but I think you got the idea. It's fairly simple to enhance this application. I can filter, for instance, for
Cool.
Yep, based on that part of the name, and so on and so forth. So the application is fairly simple, right? If you look at the source code, the code is just few lines of JavaScript code. right? And again, the beauty of FHIR, it's a standard, and there are libraries and examples all over internet of what you can do with that. IRIS FHIR Accelerator is fully standard, and the API browser that is part of Management Portal helps a lot to develop your application, test your queries, and so on and so forth. This application that you see here took me less than a day to implement from start to finish. Not because I'm so smart, even though I like to think I am, but because, again, we're dealing with standard and we're dealing with the implementation of service that adheres to the standard and the libraries and documentation that's all over the internet. So I hope you have no problem doing the same with your own projects, and good luck with the challenge. And on that note, Regilo, take it away.
I'm going to take
way more complex things than I just showed you.
Yeah, I decided to challenge myself a little bit more. In 1 week, I decided that I would learn Angular, that I never had to take a look before. And I was like, you know what? If I can build anything with our product, anyone can build. I'm not the smartest person in the room. And a few people that are in this webinar are going to testify that my idea was a bad idea. So, but anyway, I did it. So I guess that I was right. Anyone can do things here. But before we go there, I want to show what I did with OAuth, because I think that is going to be a little bit more complex and a little bit more interesting as well. I imagine that everybody likes that challenge. So here I have the environment, the deployment that I just created with you. And I'm going to create an OAuth strategy here. So that's the plus button that I was saying. And we are providing out of the box Cognito. And the beauty of this is that all that customization that you need to do with OAuth, it's here inside without having to do anything. In a click of a button, you can do all the customization that you need to have a FHIR working. So I'm going to use this, even though that you could bring all these other identity providers as well. So continue. The only thing that I need to provide is a name of application. And where that is going to be redirecting. And that's the part that I was saying that it's a pain. I was trying to figure it out how to do this custom scopes using a lot of identity providers. There is no one providing this out of the box. So what we decided is like, let's make everybody's life simpler and let's build something that is going to be available for you. So the only thing that you need to do is select, for example, one of the resources that you want and decide if it's going to be read, write, or read, write. And then you click add scope. If you want to add all, you can add everything. If you want to remove some, you can remove and click a button. That is going in the background, going to Cognito, create the, your authorization server, and create all the scopes, and you have everything ready now to start playing with that. But let's see if that is really working. So when you click here, you can download a Postman collection that I'm going to try to do right now. Open a Postman, import. Which one is the one that I think was this one? Awesome. I go there, get the authorization. It's going to be OAuth. Oh, excellent. So let me get a. Oh, for a second. I don't have a user for my environment yet. So that would be an interesting error. Well, let's create a new user for OAuth. And I like this auto fill. Cool. So now let me go back to the authorization. So I just created this user. My default password that I guess half of my team already knows that password. Use the token. And if I want to just validate that is working, beautiful. I have a 200, all the resources there, means that I'm ready to go. There is nothing else that you need to do here that would stop you to make the development. Even though that I'm going to show a few things before I show my application that, again, is my first application. Don't judge me with that. So if you want to see the access logs, that who accessing, and oh, nobody accessed that yet. So it's going to show here in the access log. Let me go to the other deployments to show a little bit more data. So I have it here, who access, it was 200, what patient that was requesting, what the path that was, if there was an API key or not, and go on and on and on and on. So very easy, very simple. Now let's show the Frankenstein that I create. And there's this one here. Some people said, oh, that looks cool. Yeah, it looks cool because for full disclosure, 15 years ago, I used to build some websites for some of the work that we're doing. So I know how to make things pretty, but doesn't mean that I know how to do anything else. And Evgeny, I'm sorry again, you're in front of me, so I'm going to put you on the other side. So I'm going to click here in login. It's going to show exactly the same authentication that I did there. I'm authenticated. And if I click in here in patients, again, it's just for getting the same data that I did there, but just giving you JSON. Like I just spit out all the JSON that I had there. But it's working. So let's see how that now on the VS Code, how that worked. So I have some component here, some app component. Yeah. So I just have the OAuth server that is getting this library that I stole from the internet, from the GitHub. And if you want to see how you get the configuration, we have a very simple for you. You click in here in OAuth, go to them. And then you're going to see that it has a sample here if you want to use FHIR.js, or if you want to use the Angular OAuth YDC, and it's just copy and paste everything in your, and you have everything configured. Very easy. And that is the GitHub repository that you can get. Okay. Let me go back to the VS Code. I guess that nobody has any questions. Seems that is very easy. But anyway, if I go to login, I use the library that it has in that repository. I have login, I have logout, I get the token here. One thing that is going to be interesting that because I'm not a developer, I struggled a little bit, was passing the token on the header. And you're going to see that there is a header that you have to create and pass. I'm using the HTTP GET and put the path, that is the environment that I want, and the token there with the authorization. Very simple, very easy. Took me more than a day for doing that because, again, I was learning Angular. Learning Angular was way more difficult than using our product, but I'm going to continue playing with that. I think that is going to be fun, and I'm going to put that in the repository as a template. And if you want to play with that and show me that you improve, or you can also say that Regilo, you were horrible coder. I would take that because I'm a dentist, so I don't mind at all. Okay? Any questions?
Thank you, Regilo. And we have one.
Cool.
Mike Yakanik asks, is FHIR as a service effectively a managed FHIR resource repository with value-add management tools?
So we are going to have management tools like we were explaining to you. You have a backup, restore. You're going to manage your data, and high availability is available as well. So you have all the management that from us. But if you want to be more specific in what tools that you want to learn a little bit more, I'm happy to elaborate a little bit further.
You might want to show them, Regilo, the access logs and the metrics.
So I showed the access logs a little bit earlier. Oh, that was in the deployment.
Yeah, hey guys, this is Mike Yaskonich. Can I just ask my question instead of typing it in?
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you're showing looks great, and it just seems to be parallel to standing up like a resource repository within a standalone instance of IRIS for Health. And the application development component is kind of separate from that environment.
So the IRIS for Health is the full suite for having development. We are not expecting that you're going to use the entire suite, even though that I would love you to use in that suite, but the repository is going to be, the FHIR Accelerator service is going to be your repository for the contest specifically. This is based in IRIS for Health, so you should be very familiar with that. The difference that you're going to get here that you don't have in the IRIS for Health is all these deployment in the cloud and making interactions with the authorization server or the identity provider that you're not going to have that out of the box. That answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your question. That was really cool. Anyone else that want to have want to ask anything?
Yes, please ask your questions out loud and in the chat. Actually, Regilo, I have a question. May I? Why?
Of course, you can ask as many questions as you want.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I'm curious. So when I register on this portal and I create a deployment, what actually I do create? So is it what is a deployment is?
I love your question because that is going to give me a segue for something that I completely forgot to say, and that is going to be very important. So if you click here in Help, you're going to have resources of a few things that are important for you to learn more about the product and to learn how you're going to get support out of that as well. The first of them is documentation. So we have a full documentation of the product already that goes to our docs, intersystems.com, that you should be familiar with that already, and explain to you all the deployment that is going to be created. What we create are instances in AWS that is going to be available for you, depending on the site. And the preview is going to be 2 CPUs with 8 gigahertz, and you're going to have access to, I think, 100 gigabytes of storage. But later in the commercial launch, you can pick as much as you want, and you can move over. But anyway, going back to the documentation, everything that we said here is available here. We are developing and documenting as we go. Every 2 weeks, we are deploying new features and new things that are going to be interesting. One of them you're going to see a little bit later is that we are going to provide to have multiple applications inside of this. I didn't show you to get the multiple applications because it's not available yet, but by Thursday, it's going to be available, and you can create more than just one visualization of your data. The other thing that is going to be in that help is that we have some learning material that has been developed. It's going to be available for you. I don't know if it's going to be available by Thursday, but is going to have some videos, some cool interviews that we are going to put it here in the learning as a service as well. More, you can have the community that you already know and support to our support. And if for me, the most important one is to submit feedbacks. I think the thing that we are going to value the most, and thinking of you as the main consumer of this product, you developer, is hearing from you what do you think that is cool, what is not cool, what you struggled, and we are going to be visiting this and making sure that we understand what you need and delivering the important features that everybody is requesting here. That answer your question, Evgeny?
I think so, yes. I have another one. So, okay. Okay, great. So as I figured, I will, by deploying this, I will get a FHIR repository API available on Amazon Web Services. Am I right? And
Yes.
I can build my application of any technology around this using this FHIR repository, managed FHIR repository as a service. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And my question is, who is paying for that, and how much time?
Well, for the contest, we are paying, and these environments are going to be available until June 6th. That is when the contest is going to end. And we are going to judge the work that you did. Of course, that all the code that you are putting there, as all the other contests, is going to be MIT license, and it's going to be available in GitHub for everybody to play and enjoy that as well. But after that, if you feel that you want to extend that environment because you like so much and you want to play a little bit more, just shoot us an email. You're going to receive, when for the registration on this environment, an email that is going to explain how to get things. And if you want to extend your period of assessment, we will be happy to do that.
Oh, this is sweet. Thank you. So, just another question. When I will be able to get the code that will allow me to sign up?
So I imagine that you already have mentioned to everybody that the contest is going to be available on Thursday. If you want to start playing with the tool, you can start registering already. You can get some email inviting you to get there. You're not going to have the code to access the full, to be fair to everybody, so you don't start having work before that Thursday. But as soon as you register, get the code for getting these environments, you are ready to go and start playing with it. But let's have it in mind that it's going to be Thursday, so it's fair for everybody. Same amount of time for everyone.
Yes, great. So everyone is welcome to sign up on Thursday and request the unique code for every participant that could be requested on developer community or on our Discord channel with our employees. And Regilo, yet another question about the service itself. You spoke a lot about open hours. Why is that that important? Could you maybe share some more?
Sorry, details? Can you repeat the question?
Why open hours? Open hours 2.0 is that important with FHIR?
Okay, so OAuth 2 is not just important for FHIR. I think all the applications using API right now depend on OAuth. So you don't need to be managing identity. It was always a pain. I'm going to give you my personal experience. 15 years ago, I had to build my entire stack. It's like I used to develop in PHP and had to be installing database, having to install all the dependencies, libraries, managing identity, creating users, and everything else. Today, most of the companies already have an identity provider that manages several applications. So having OAuth to support in the FHIR Accelerator service also is going to give you the opportunity to connect it to your current identity provider and not having to manage anything. It's the identity provider and the authorization server that is going to be responsible for all the permissions and authentication that you need. Makes your life easier, basically. And that's what it's all about here. It's like before I would spend a week, two, building one environment, creating dependencies. Now, as you can see, in a click of a button, about 10 minutes, I can configure everything and you're ready to go in production. So it's very different. It's very different. I hope that my son that is 10 years old can do much more cooler things that I used to do when I was 20, 15 years ago. I'm a little bit older than that, but I like to think that I'm 35 still.
Yeah, can I ask one more question?
I can add to that if you don't mind. Right, Mike asked question early is like what I'm seeing is effectively a managed file repository. Well, answer is technically yes. And if you just need file repository, like nothing stops you from spinning up the Docker container with a file repository, and it would give you the same level of functionality to play with. But now, if you really want to move it forward to production, we are talking about health data, personal health information. There's a gazillion of regulations and requirements that you would need to meet in order to be able safely and compliantly process this health information. All the data has to be encrypted, it has to be highly available, you have to implement certain level of access control and auditing, and the list goes on and on and on, right? It would be way more than just single Docker container that you can spin up on your own. So the beauty of this service is not necessarily what you see there as a tools and UI that's available to you, is what you don't see, is what we do in the background to make sure whatever you have is fully compliant and ready to deal with personal health information. So the application that I showed you using API key, and API key is essentially all or nothing access to the entire thing. And well, you wouldn't put that in production, right? You would want to switch it to the proper OAuth 2 authentication where patients would have access only to their health records. The providers would have access to their patients, and like everything that providers are doing with the data would be audited and registered and so on. So a whole bunch of things that you don't even think about then you develop in your application. But if you need to satisfy those requirements yourself, it's a lot of work. And we're doing that for you. So inevitably, if you move in your application from your sandbox development to the production level that deals with real health data, like you would need to use OAuth, you would need to use highly available deployment across 2 availability zones. So a lot of things that you don't worry about as a developer, as a person responsible for operations of your system, you would worry about, and we just take care for you.
Yeah, that's
excellent
like
points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Thank you,
excellent
Anton.
points, Anton.
Yes. Actually, we have a question from Mike Evgeny. Mike, do you want to ask it out loud?
Yeah, I do. I just didn't want to interrupt. And I get your point, Anton, and that, you know, I understand. Well said. The can we like participate just to preview the service versus having to participate in a contest and submitting development?
Oh, Mike, this is question to me. Yes. Yeah, and I will use this opportunity to answer. So of course you can. You have this opportunity to preview. Please go ahead. So you just, as all the participants, you just request your unique key to sign up for the service, and you're not obliged to contribute yeah, so it's not mandatory to contribute the application. So I mean, it's not necessary, yes, but we will expect, of course. But you are very welcome to examine and test InterSystems FHIR as a service. Am I right, Regilo?
Yeah, you're right. The preview started has been a month now, so there are people already using and trying to give us some feedback. So if you are just interested in giving a feedback, we are welcoming that. Participate in the decisions, the direction that the product is going to take, and we thank you for that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Mike, but if you think you can contribute something, please go ahead. Don't stop yourself. I mean, so we.
I got what he wants is that he has a really cool idea that he's going to make tons of money out of that, and of course that he's not going to give up on this and the contest.
Yeah.
I got it,
not
Mike.
yet.
The reality is I've got 5 other work duties that have to be completed within the same 6-week period, and there's just not enough time to do everything, but I would like to just take a look at it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm happy that you have so much work that you can. It's better than the opposite.
That's true. I have to drop actually for a 2 o'clock call, but thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your participation.
Right. Bye now.
Yeah.